Hey, what you reading for?
Hey, what's up YouTube? Today, 4 big books that at first glance might seem a bit intimidating because of their size and other factors, but I am going to make the case that these big books are definitely worth your time. Don't forget to hit the like button, consider subscribing if you like book-related content, and let's jump on in, starting off with the most recent release of the 4. Coming in just shy of 700 pages, A Brief History of 7 Killings by Marlon James. Published in 2014, this Booker Prize-winning book tells the story of an assassination attempt on singer Bob Marley. This is loosely based on a true event. On December 3rd, 1976, 7 gunmen burst into the singer's home and opened fire. Bob Marley was hit twice. His manager and another band's employee were hit, and Bob Marley's wife also was hit. Fortunately, everybody survived. As for the motives, some claim that the assassination attempt was orchestrated by the PLP, a political party in Jamaica that represents the left wing. And others claim that the assassination attempt was orchestrated by the JLP, which is the right wing political party in Jamaica. And still others claim that the whole thing was orchestrated by the CIA. And we don't know for sure, but all theories, in my opinion, seem plausible. And in this book, A Brief History of 7 Killings, Marlon James makes use of all the theories. He weaves them together to paint this intricate landscape of Jamaica with political corruption and drug lords and gangsters and girlfriends and groupies. What I liked especially about this book is that there are passages where the writer, Marlon James, he uses a Jamaican dialect, like a Jamaican patois, not for the entire book, but for certain passages. And this created for me a truly immersive reading experience. I was there in Kingston, Jamaica in the 1970s, watching it all go down. In fact, I read this book when I was living in Poland. I'd take the bus and I'd read a few passages during the commute, and the bus would come to a stop and I'd look around and I'd be very disoriented. I was like, there's snow on the ground, white people everywhere. What happened to Kingston, Jamaica? I must have got on the wrong bus, right? I'd be disoriented and it'd take me a moment to come out of this immersive experience that the book was giving me, and it'd take me a moment to get my head out of Jamaica and get back into Poland, and this happened several times. There's one scene in particular where one of the gunmen, I mean, he's a child actually, and he's taking cocaine to get himself up for the big event, the assassination attempt. And we are in the POV of this young boy from the streets of Kingston, coked out of our minds and with orders to kill the most famous and most beloved man in the country. And the scene is exhilarating, very well done. There are several different storylines, several different characters. I didn't love them all, but on the whole, they all came together very well to make for a great, memorable experience. Coming up, probably the shortest book on the list, coming in at around 650 pages, we have Wolf Hall by Hilary Mantel, another Booker Prize winner. Historical fiction set in the 1520s. The King of England, he wants to have his marriage annulled so that he can marry someone else that he's taken a fancy to. But in order to do this, he needs the okay from the Pope. But the Pope is being a meanie about it. So the king, he tries to get his ally, the cardinal, to help him out. The cardinal, he fails to get the Pope to have the marriage annulled. So this is very bad news for the cardinal. So the cardinal, he elicits the help of a lawyer named Thomas Cromwell, a cunning and crafty chap, ruthless, some might say, but very perceptive and very effective. And it is fascinating to watch this Thomas Cromwell as he plays both sides. He plays the king's and the cardinal's sides to serve his own interest and to serve his ideas of what reform in England should be. Every character in this book has an agenda, one they keep close to the vest, and they have to identify, then use other people's interests and weaknesses and identify their own leverage to try and get what they want. And the stakes are very high because if you go against the king, he's likely to have you killed. And if you go against the Pope, that is also probably a death sentence. Identifying and understanding people's agendas, understanding the leverage you have and being able to use it in a covert fashion. Nobody is better at that than Hilary Mantel's Thomas Cromwell, who was a very real and important figure in English history. However, historians claim that Hilary Mantel's depiction of him is not historically accurate. This is a work of fiction. In any event, for me, it was a pleasure watching this character work his manipulations and his machinations. And it was interesting seeing what was important to people at that time. It was also very interesting to see how women who do not have, or who did not have much of a say as to how society and the country were being shaped, and they did not have much of a say in how their own fates would be decided. But it was interesting to see how they were still able to identify some points of leverage they had and how they used them to their advantage. Fascinating. I will admit that for me, this was not an easy book to follow. There are a lot of characters, and the relationships between various characters were hard to keep track of. Plus, nobody comes right out and says exactly what they mean or exactly what they want. It was a challenging read, but I really felt like I was in England back in the 1500s. This book provided a very immersive experience. Hilary Mantel is an incredibly talented writer. And this book, I feel, is well deserving of all the accolades it has received. And there is a sequel to it, Bring Up the Bodies, which also won the Booker Prize. Next up, something completely different. Weave World by Clive Barker from 1987. Coming in just north of 700 pages. Weave World is a fantasy action hybrid with elements of horror. Clive Barker is one of my favorite authors of all time, and he has given us several masterpieces, but for me, Weave World is my absolute favorite of his novels. At the core of Weave World is the fugue. You see, there was a time long ago when humans shared the earth with magical beings. However, over time, humans became less and less tolerant of these magical beings, and some humans actually sought out the destruction of these beings. So these magical beings were forced into hiding. So what they did is they weaved themselves and their world into a rug. Now there are malevolent forces searching for the rug. Among them is a villain, one of my favorite villains in all of literature, the salesman. He wants to take the possession of the rug and sell it to the highest bidder. The salesman is a sleazy, unscrupulous individual. He'll say and do anything to get his way, and he has a jacket. When he opens it, the person that is looking at it sees whatever it is that they most desire, which is a pretty good bargaining chip in a negotiation. So the salesman is good at getting what he wants. Our protagonist has to get this rug and hide it. He can trust no one, but at the same time, he needs help. So he teams up with a conspiracy theorist and a young woman who is the granddaughter of the rug's former human guardian. No one is better at world building than Clive Barker, in my opinion. So in Weave World, we have exceptional and economic world building. We have a badass villain. We have great action scenes, a little romance, and a dash or two of horror. There is a lot to like in this masterpiece, and I think Weave World could satisfy and has satisfied readers across a variety of genres. Lastly, we'll close with the biggest book on the list. North of 1,200 pages, the French classic from 1846, The Count of Monte Cristo by Alexandre Dumas. Don't let the size intimidate you. The Count of Monte Cristo was originally written as a serial with chapters appearing in a weekly newspaper, so it makes for a relatively breezy read. There is a lot of momentum behind the story, which was crucial to the success of a serial. And not only is there momentum, but there is intrigue, injustice, and of course, vengeance. The story starts in 1815 on the very day when Napoleon left the first island of his exile and would begin this 100-day period of his return to power. There isn't necessarily a parallel between Napoleon and the protagonist of this novel, but the timing of the story, well, first, it serves as a very interesting historical backdrop to the story, and it does elevate the events and brings a sort of epic quality to what transpires, as if this very personal story is also being played out over the whole country and everyone in it. The Count of Monte Cristo is a story of obsession, of a man singularly focused on revenge. There are three main characters. We have Edmond Dantès, our protagonist, Mercedes, his love or his fiancée, and Fernand, Dante's rival, who has Dantes wrongfully imprisoned, and then he takes his wife and makes her his bride. So the story is told from Dante's point of view, but there is so much detail and all of the characters are so well fleshed out that it is quite easy to replay the story in your mind and see it from other perspectives. It's seen from Mercedes' perspective. This could be a horror story, right? Tracked down by an obsessed former lover who breaks out of jail, right? And is the man she married really who he claims he is? That would be a fun read, I think. Mercedes is the Count of Monte Cristo, but it would be a horror book, I think. The Count of Monte Cristo is a classic, and deservedly so. It has been copied and imitated so many times, but in this case, there is nothing better than the original. So there you have it, 4 big books that are definitely worth your time. Do you have any experience with the books or with the authors I talked about in this video? I look forward to hearing your opinions. I look forward to connecting with you in the comment section. Thank you for hitting the like button. Thank you for subscribing. And thank you for watching. I'll see you at the next video.